You're listening to the YNOT Shyway Show, an Esports Arena podcast.
Hello, Halo fans. We're back with another episode of the YNOT Shyway Show, and it's damn good to be back. I wasn't here last week. Tony took over you always take over the show, Tony, but you had King J instead of me. Apparently, he's better. Apparently, that's how it's got to go from now on, Tony. What's going on? How you doing, man?
Nah, King J was great, but you obviously missed. It was really funny because it was like they scratched out your name and then put the King, the YNOT and King J show. It was like scribbled by like a toddler. It was really funny though. It was a fun show, but we definitely missed you for sure.
Well, I mean, I'm happy to be back. In case you're not aware, I was on vacation. Tony, I know you know, but the viewers might not. I went to South Carolina, saw the girlfriend. We traveled to the mountains in Gatlinburg. I was away from the internet for a little bit, which is nice and very different. Of course, I come back, and I want to say, for lack of a better... can I swear? Can we swear?
Do it. Just do it.
Shit hits the fan in the Halo community when I come back, and all of a sudden it's crazy on Twitter, right? Because by the time I get back, the entire Halo community is going up in arms about, the roadmap and things that are going on. And it's an interesting time to be a Halo fan, Tony, that's for sure. Not really the greatest stage for Halo, but at the very least, we're all talking about it, and can't wait to get into the show today. Before we do that, Tony, any new updates for you? How you been, man?
No, I'm just grinding like an animal and eating.
Always.
Grinding and eating, but now meal prepping, so it's better food for me, except I ordered Wendy's breakfast today. I was bad. I ordered Wendy's breakfast. It was so good, but it was so bad, but it was so good.
Wait, what is Wendy's breakfast, though? Like, elaborate.
So they have this magical sandwich,
okay,
and they call it the breakfast baconator.
Oh.
And it's sausage, egg, and cheese, and like a ton of bacon on top, and like extra cheese, I'm pretty sure, because it's so cheesy. And then they also have biscuits and gravy. So I had the baconator for breakfast, and then I saved the biscuits and gravy, and I had that for lunch, and it was so bad. It was so good. And I promise I'm going back on the meal prep. I already got the air fryer ready. Once we're done with the show, I'm going back to the chicken and vegetables.
I mean, it is all kind of gains in the end of the day, right? Like, as long as you bring that energy into the gym, there you go, right? Bring it into the grind, then you'll burn it off. You'll make it work, make it count. It's fuel. Fuel for look at this, man. Wow, what? Where do you have those weights sitting? On each side of the chair? You got to jump over them as you get up out of your seat? How do you don't have a rack for it. You just leave free weights just on the ground. Okay. Much respect to you, my dude. There you go. Using the fuel, like you said, right? And for the record, I'm a sucker for breakfast sandwiches. Like, I can't not have one. When I'm away from home, I'll buy like 2 or 3, like the sausage, egg, and cheese, sausage, bacon, cheese, sausage, ham and cheese, whatever. I can't. I don't know. It's like my crack or something, Tony.
It's definitely the kryptonite to your Superman. And well, if breakfast sandwiches is your kryptonite, would you say like Halo slide jump, like, or is like your sidekick? I will, yeah. Or what about these HCS skins? Is that your costume you're going to wear to the battlefield?
You know what, Tony? That's a really good question. We better talk a little bit about that. Of course, let's get back on topic with the show here. The HCS, is the focal point. Of course, we're talking Halo today. We got a lot going on in Halo that we got to touch on. We got our schedule, of course, on the left-hand side of the screen here. HCS skins is the first topic. The way we organized this, Tony, I figured it was like the good, the bad, the ugly of what's happening in the world of Halo today. The good is the skins, the bad is the roadmap, and the ugly is ROSTERMANIA, figuring out what these pros are doing, what's coming up next, which is also kind of good and maybe kind of bad, depending on your perspective. Either way, Tony, let's talk skins, because there's new ones and they're damn pretty. This is something I'm actually pretty hype about. The skins are nice.
You can see a little bit of the video. They looked even better on this video, or they looked really good. Got me really hyped, I should say. They played this during, I think right before the Melbourne finals, and I saw this and I was automatically hyped. I was like, oh snap, that's the Optics whites. Okay, they're going with the playoff skin. You got to have the Optic, championship whites on there. Then Cloud9 looking pretty clean. Fnatic did a little copy and paste action. It's all good. SSG went a little outside the box with the all yellow. I'm not gonna lie, I was happy with it. It's not me,
yellow.
but it ain't bad.
Correction,
it looks yellow
Tony.
on that video.
Okay.
And the video looks yellow.
Because they swear by the gold, apparently, right? Like you go to buy the skin and it says, we love gold. Like, shout out to, was it Austin Powers Gold member 2001. But yeah, gold, not yellow. Tony, go ahead.
The video looked yellow, but when we actually showed the skin, when we actually showed the skins, it does look gold. I'm just saying, maybe I'm colorblind. I don't know. Now, see, that looks gold.
See, look at the bar, though.
That looks gold.
The gold bar is sick, and that's kind of what made me pick the skins that I got, because I looked at all the skins and I was like, these look pretty damn nice. I'm having trouble choosing, and then I saw the cloud on Cloud 9. I was like, oh, that's so cute. The cloud looks like, I don't know if we have the cloud. There it is on the top left. It's so cute. So I bought the Cloud 9 one first, and I'm wearing Cloud 9. I also got Optic though. I got FaZe. I got wait, who else? And SSG, Tony. Did you buy them all? Mm-hmm. You bought them all, didn't you?
I bought every one of them, yeah. It's a tax write-off. I'm good.
See, I should probably too, but my only gripe is the black and red trend that I think we're seeing. And that's just kind of a result of these esports orgs. Like FaZe is black and red. You've got G2, Sentinels, kinda. It looks different in the image, but and then even Fnatic looks kind of more orange. But when you go in the game, it just looks like black, red, black, red, black, red.
Yeah, but at least with Sentinels, Sentinels was white, in season 1, kind of. Yeah. And they came out with the third iteration, and then they put in the black, where FaZe was, I guess FaZe changed it up because they had the camouflage almost all over. G2, another copy pasta, a little bit. Click Control X, Control V real quick. But you mentioned the gold charm on SSG. I mean, dude, that phase up is awesome. And like I said, the Cloud 9, it's cute. It's funny. I like the Cloud 9 charm as well.
People have been telling me we're sleeping on the Navi skin, though, which kind of goes hard. The blue-yellow mix. I do love having a third color in the mix, and that's kind of why I like the Cloud 9 one a lot as well, is it's blue, black, and there's a gold kind of lining throughout it, which I think is pretty sick. But I think regardless of what you choose, Tony, the best thing about these skins is just the mix and match capability, right? Because you could be C9, but you could have any other weapon skin plus any charm that you want. Tony, let's talk about this a bit, because that was a much needed adjustment. Yeah, I mean, and on top of the fact that they're not kits, so not only can you mix and match the HCS, but the charms and the emblems and whatnot, but then you could also put your customization that you were able to gain through the challenges. So right now, I'm rocking the Fnatic skin with the Cloud 9 BR, and then I have that gold charm just chilling right now. I mix it up a little bit, nice. And then I have that weird green. It reminds me of Dragon Ball Z, the power scanners and whatnot. His power level is over 9,000. I have that effect on my Spartan right now, and then I'll tell you this: there's so many different combinations you can really make them look like your own. Which, to be honest, in season 1, I paid for every skin, and I had less customization options than if I didn't pay, which didn't make sense. So I'm really happy they totally changed that, and now we can customize it the way you want your Spartan to look like. Completely agree. I think it's a big thing. Like you said, what was it? The scanner for you. I have the fire effect on my arms and the top of my body, and then when you kill a player, you get the kill effect when you kill the player too. You don't get any of that with the esports skin. So a lot of flexibility here, and yes, it's something that you could say we should have had maybe earlier on, but now that it is here, you got to appreciate the W's that come in, Tony, because there's some bigger issues, I think, outside of the little W's. So we'll appreciate the little things. The other good thing, Tony, I think the Yappening event is going really well right now. It's of course, a socially focused event, big team battle. You got Fiesta, you got snipers. Did you play any, Tony? I haven't got the chance to play it just yet. I plan on doing a little community night this weekend where I'm going to invite a lot of my followers and whatnot to jump on and with me, and we're going to have a good time. But anything big team battle and Fiesta and then mix a little snipers in there, I already know I'm going to have a good time. But right now I've been in the grind doing 4v4s only. This weekend it's going to be more chill. It's going to be what's yappening. Right. I mean, it's a mix of both, right? Things are starting to get pretty sweaty as well. We got Orlando coming up very soon. In the meantime, though, let's shift over to the next topic here. We got the roadmap for Halo Infinite, because this is good. The HCS skins look good, and that's a nice way to kind of get us back into the grind. The roadmap is a little unfortunate, a little demotivating, I think, to say at the least, Tony. It's not what we had hoped. We are getting Forge, which I think is the only beacon at the end of the tunnel for us here, but everything is delayed and the community is not happy at all, Tony. I'm not sure if you've been watching some of the takes online. They're pretty hot.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand where the frustration comes from, and I think it's okay to be frustrated. I think it's okay to even vocalize criticism, but what I don't think it's okay is attacking devs. And it's not even just Halo, like it's across Apex and Call of Duty, and it's like so weird. Like I've seen like Unisec just like tweet out something random, like a little funny joke and whatnot. He does it every once in a while, and you read the comments, it's like, well, why are you tweeting? You should be fixing the game. You should it's kind of crazy. Like I said, I understand where the frustration's coming from. You know, going into the roadmap. You know, first of all, I love the video that announced this. I actually like the video.
Good video.
I think good, bad, left or right, those videos like that are great. They're transparent. I'm not a very literal person. I'm not the smartest person in the world, so those blogs really are the worst for me personally. I prefer in video form, and that the dude named Sean, he was like swagged out with the jacket and the Jordans and whatnot. The dude was cool, and he didn't hide from the criticism. He came right out the rip and said, "Hey, look, you know, we know that you're unhappy. We know that we haven't hit this mark and that mark, and it's not even just you guys that are frustrated. It's us as well." And he didn't hide from the criticism. He was completely transparent, and I would love to see more videos like that going forward. Going into actual content coming in. Love Forge. I think we have a super talented community, and we put Forge in their hands, and they're gonna come out with absolute amazing, just amazing creation. I actually saw the video live today with the fundamentals of the Forge, and I'm seeing how everything comes together, large scale, bottom scale. It's phenomenal. Going into Match XP, you know, everybody kept talking about we need some natural progression. We're going to see that. The Shroud, I'm really excited for. Some people say they don't want to see it in competitive. I want to test it out in competitive. I'm excited to see what it has. Bandit Rifle, I'm good with the free battle pass, which is nice. And then obviously the custom game browser, which I'm really excited about. The only thing I'm not really too excited about is really the timeline. Would love to have this stuff sooner. But at the end of the day, I'm just happy that we're getting it. I feel like that custom browser is going to be huge. Sharing the Forge creations that are made on top of being able to like just start up an octagon or a free fall, having everybody just come in randomly and get a nice little warm up in and meet a lot of new people that you normally wouldn't. I think the actual content here is great. I am a fan of it. I'm not a fan of the actual timeline, and like I said, I wish it would come sooner.
It's impossible to be a fan of the timeline, Tony. So fair enough, right? But like you said, there is some potential with Forge and with custom browser, and of course the waiting game sucks. But if they do release and they work, you know, as well as we hope they do, then that will definitely bring back a lot of the community, and will also, you know, kind of help shift the unfortunate focus that I think the community has on the fact that the game feels too competitive. Is like the big focus right now. Like, you know, you mentioned Sean Barron. I thought he did a great job as well. And by the way, those videos, like you said, we should see more of them. I think that, you know, the delays at this point, they're happening. At this point, you can't avoid criticism. 343 knows that, right? It's a tough time. Like, criticism is very justified. The best thing that they can do is try to give us reasons to support and to help us help them, basically, by being more transparent, by having more videos like that. Because it just kind of gives us, you know, keeps us along and just gives us something, you know, throw us a bone here, basically. But what he did say, though, is he said Halo is a highly competitive game. And I think that specific comment has been targeted pretty heavily by the community right now, understandably, because the social side of the game is missing. I don't really think that's a fault of the fact that that the competitive side is working, though, if that makes sense, Tony, right? Like, I think it's really just our unfortunate circumstance is we just don't have those social experiences and features in the game right now. And when we do, then I think the perspective will shift. But right now, it's just turmoil, right? Like Sean says that statement. And Halo, do you think Halo at its core is competitive, by the way, Tony? Let's put you in the hot seat.
I think Halo is what you want it to mean to you. So, like, for example, I got to talk to King J just last week, and, you know, his first introduction to Halo was playing Fat Kid and playing Sumo, playing those fun custom games, and to a lot of the community, that's what Halo means to them. To the campaign guys who know the lore back and forward and whatnot. If you say the wrong name of an elite, they're going to thrash you on Twitter. that lore and that campaign, that's what Halo means to them. I myself, as a competitive player and whatnot, I would say competitive what means to me, but the same way some people say, maybe traditional 4v4 Slayer with assault rifles is what it means. The one beautiful thing about Halo is that there has been so many different facets, so many different segments and subcategories to Halo, and it means something different to everybody. I will say the one thing without Forge right now is a large part of that community feels like, okay, well, our version of Halo doesn't exist right now.
It's like,
so hopefully bringing that back in will bring them back in and whatnot, and maybe even combine that with fixing that theater and really getting the theater in order. Because now not only do you have the fun people, the fun custom games coming in, but now maybe you get the role playing guys coming in as well, because they want to have some fun. Especially with Forge, you could create whatever you want. Like those role playing and those storytellings are going to be absolutely insane if you combine Forge and hopefully some improvements with the theater.
Well said, right? So the beauty of Halo is just how much you can tailor that experience to yourself. And it looks very different depending on the type of player you are. That's the thing. And like, it is very much a social party experience. It's also very much a competitive game. The crazy thing about Halo is it like simultaneously birthed both sides of the industry and grew them into what they are today, right? Like all the social experiences in Halo didn't really exist before that. Now are, more mainstream in different areas of different games. And then the esports side, like you look at MLG, back in the USA, early 2000s on TV when it kind of kicked off like esports and what we know now, right? So it was setting the precedent for everything that followed. So both aspects are incredibly important. I think what Sean was referencing, when you kind of go back to like, what are the bare bones foundation of what Halo is? What I think personally is, let's go Halo CE, Team Slayer. What is Team Slayer? It's, 4v4, even starts, you start with the same weapon. There's power weapons on the map, equal distance from each side so that it's fair, right? You got predominantly symmetrical maps, right? Like everything is fair and balanced, and the objective is to defeat the enemy team by being the first to 50 kills, and there's only one winner, right? So it is inherently by that token competitive. And I mean, there's a large conversation to have here, Tony, but even going into Halo 4, like a big objective with Halo 4 was to make things easier, make them more accessible. And that was a big criticism of Halo 4. Like, remember the kill streaks and the weapons dropping down and a lot of things that they kind of gave you that held your hand. That was part of the reason why the series, kind of pulled away as well. So the competitive side is very important in Halo, but so is social, right? All of these elements need to be heard and focused on and adjusted and updated. It's just a difficult situation, difficult task, I'm sure, to do, and hopefully we see more of it. But I agree, Tony. I think Forge is the first step, and the Forge video did come out. If you didn't see it, go watch it. I skimmed through it. I'm probably going to go watch the whole thing, Tony, and just really embrace it. But it looks crazy. Like if it works as well as it looks it does, it is a game changer. Like I've never seen anything like the Forge and just what you can do. Did you see the map that he was on too? Like they just put a map together. And there's like, what is it? Over 7,000 objects you can interact with in Forge in comparison to 1,600 in Halo 5. And I feel like we never even hit the full potential of Halo 5's Forge. Like Infinite, like, we'll be going for years and we'll still be seeing new things, I think, Tony.
It's really exciting, to think about what we saw in that Forge video between, being able to scale objects up, down, left, right, make them look like something else. You had a mountainous, object that when scaled down looked like the trash that you put on top of the garbage, and which is crazy. And you think of like, the ability to undo certain actions and being able to preview objects instead of having to commit to it, then delete it and all of this. And it's to think about what people were able to create in the past. Shout out to my man Salat and all the other forgers that were out there, because they were literally working with their hands tied behind their back. Yeah. Now on mouse and keyboard, and now with the budget and the features that are being implemented to this Forge, even in beta form, it's going to be absolutely beautiful. And that's why I think a custom browser is going to be so important, because we're going to have a crazy good battle royale. We're going to have multiple of them that are going to be absolutely insane. They're going to be incredible, like game changing. We're going to see again those custom games. Like, first of all, if any of y'all think you could take me in Mongoose Sumo, I promise you, I will put you in the dirt. I'm talking 6 feet under, and there ain't no respawn in real life. You are not coming at me when it comes to Mongoose Sumo.
Where the heck? Like, when do you play Mongoose Sumo? Where, like, where are you getting the EXP in? You got some Mongoose strats that I'm not aware of.
Some things are not about it. Some things are just about the fun. And when we go play 4v4s, you start off with the 4v4. Sometimes it gets a little repetitive. You get a little tired and whatnot. Your eyes start to strain. That's when you switch it up to the Mongoose Sumo and whatnot. I'm gonna get you in there. Trust me. But you know what?
I'll keep it in mind.
I'm gonna talk to my guys. I'm gonna make sure we get a bunch of jump maps for you, and they're gonna start.
There we go. Don't take me to jump map.
To medium to hard. You're gonna have to make sure you hit every one of those curb and snap slides. I'm gonna get some of my forgers to get a jump map for you. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's exciting to talk about. Is Forge going to revitalize and bring us back to season 0 when before the game launched? No. But I will say it's going to be a big part to the bounce back of where Halo Infinite goes.
Right, because that is what Halo is, right? Just the flexibility that you have with this franchise, and the silence and the lack of content, it's just deafening right now, right? So it's easy to point the blame and the scrutiny on what's already there, but I don't think the problem is what's there. There's just not enough, right? We need more, and hopefully we get more, and hopefully it all works, Tony, so we can start to rebuild, because things are looking bad. Man, I saw the takes. I saw Moist Critical. He said his video's the worst game developer of all time. It has over 1.3 million views, and he said it was 343. He just wrung them out, Tony. There's a lot of people saying a lot of negative stuff, and the criticism is justified. Hopefully we can survive the battering and, come out on top and things improve, Tony. I think there's some potential with the roadmap. In the meantime, what we do have is esports, though, right? Like, the only thing that I think is kind of working and does have, some potential despite the circumstances is esports. So let's talk about some esports, Tony. We got new roster announces. We got Snipedown not on FaZe anymore, right? Snipedown had some comments about that apparently too. I'm not sure if we still have that, Tony. Anything you want to say about Snipedown's move from FaZe and this new FaZe roster?
Well, we're going to focus a little bit, I guess, on FaZe itself, as and then I guess maybe switch over to Snipedown, because there's kind of two stories here. But as far as what FaZe looked like, bringing in King Nick, which, by the way, became official today, about an hour ago, became official. King Nick has joined FaZe, and they have looked incredible since. And it's no knock to Snipedown individually. Again, I talk about this all the time. I think Snipedown is one of the greats to ever do it. Not only in Halo, but also with Apex as well. He's phenomenal. He really is. But at this level, it's about fit. It's about play style. It's about chemistry. And it was very clear from the words that came out of Snipedown's mouth that there was no chemistry whatsoever. And this team didn't even fit, as Snipedown said, either in-game or out. So FaZe right now pick up King Nick. And the moment they do, it clicked.
Change.
It started working. You're talking about getting 10-2'd by Optic on the 18th of last month, to a week later, you only lose to them by 1 game in scrims. That's a big difference. Losing out by 8 or losing out by 1. And we're talking about the only difference is swapping out King Nick and Snipedown. And since then, they've 7-0'd Anime Demons. They had a not so good scrim with Sentinels a couple of days ago, but they were able to 5-4 Optic, able to get a win over Optic. I will premise that, but St. Forma wasn't feeling too good and had to end the scrim early. They 9-4'd a Red Hot G1 twice, by the way.
Yeah.
And even were able to beat out Sentinels in a 9-8 a few days ago, maybe a little bit less than 2 weeks ago. So as of right now, FaZe are starting to look like, or starting to resemble the team that we thought they were back in June. When I started hearing rumblings about this team, I called them the God Squad. And let me tell you, they looked more like they needed God than an actual God Squad going into that NA Super. But as of right now, they're starting to resemble the team that we thought they would look like.
Really kind of powerful underlying message here on how important chemistry is in really anything, but Halo Esports especially here, Tony, in that it was a God Squad on paper, right? Like, you're like, there's no way this isn't a top 3 team just based on the names, but if they don't work well together, if they don't see eye to eye with each other, it just can't work, right? And I think that was something that Snipedown maybe even recognized before the whole, second roster, maybe even with the first one. I believe he likes FaZe, though, right? He's got a great relationship with FaZe, so it seems like they're still together. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But like you said, the switches worked, and the chemistry is the big difference. You got King Nick, Spartan, they're known as a duo. They're back together. And then at the same time, Renegade, Falcade, a ton of experience together. They're very comfortable. They're great chemistry with each other. And like you said, the results show. They can take anybody right now as far as scrims, right? Like they look like they have the potential to beat an Optic or beat Cloud9 or Sentinels if they're playing well on the right day.
They've already done it.
And they've already done it, at least in scrims. But I'm sure, you know, when the tournaments come up, like we're seeing them tomorrow at the JJ Events tournament, we'll see how they play there. And then a week from that, you've got the Grunt Classic, right? So there's little events kind of leading up to it to let us see where FaZe stands. But I mean, yeah, Tony, this is exciting, right? Like the actual potential that we thought FaZe had, now we're finally seeing it.
I think it started to become real to me during Esports Arena, by the way, one of the open events. It was, I think, last week when FaZe were able to beat Cloud9, not only in the winners bracket, but also the elimination bracket. Because the FaZe that we saw in the NA Super, I don't want to mince words, they were abysmal. And that team wouldn't beat Cloud9 on their best day, and Cloud9 is on their worst, or even without controls in their hand. Like, it was that bad.
Right.
FaZe come out, beat them in the winners bracket and the lower bracket. And I'm like, okay, obviously best of 3 series only, but still it ended up being 5-2 at the end of the score line between the 2 series. And okay, now this has become real to me. FaZe are now contenders in my eyes, where before they were looking like pretenders and far from that God Squad that we mentioned. I think FaZe are going in the right direction, and I'm really excited to watch their journey because they can legitimately now win Worlds, maybe win Orlando. Are they the favorites going in? No. But do you have to respect them in any matchup against Sentinels, Cloud9, and Optic? Yeah, they will demand respect. And if you don't, they might steamroll over you.
Where do you think they land? Just off of basically a blind prediction. Where do you think they stack up at the moment?
As of right now, I hate being the victim of recency bias. Okay. So I got to give it more than a week and a half for me to see success in order for me to really jump out. I'm going to keep them about where I had them before, top 4 guaranteed.
Wow.
But if they continue to play, I think it's great. I mean, even as of right now, the team I'm seeing right now, you can still beat out G2. You can still beat out G1. You can still beat out Complexity. You can still beat out Ascend and Quadrant. So I'm happy with what I'm seeing right now. Yeah. But to me, I don't think FaZe are going to be happy with top 4. I think for FaZe, it's like it's top 3 or bust. I know it's only 1 round difference, but that 1 round is going to be having to beat out the likes of either Optic, Sentinels, or Cloud9.
Right.
So that 1 round is going to make a huge difference. I have them in top 4. I'm almost ready to say guarantee, almost. Not quite ready yet. But I would say if they continue to on this trajectory, I'll guarantee top 4, and we can start talking about top 3 or grand finals.
Right. They got some proving to do. I think the really cool thing, though, is just the level of variability that I'm seeing across a lot of these teams and their potential to jump up into that spot as well. I think apart from, maybe Optic that's more consistent generally, C9, some fluctuation in their performance, right? Sentinels as well. G1, you see them getting beat 9-4 in both of these scrims, right? Like G1, in the tournaments we've seen, they're 3rd place, 2nd place. They're popping off. Complexity beating FaZe in scrims 7-6, right? Complexity has been another team kind of sneaking in. Are they an online team? I don't know. Question kind of remains. You got a whole new space station, right? So there's a lot of talent, I think, coming in, and I think it's a big question mark as to where this one will go. But good prediction, Tony. I'll say, safely top 6, but top 4 does definitely sound possible. They still have to prove it. And then you got G2 that we have that are kind of quiet.
Now you put me on the spot. Now I'm going to put you on the spot. Because you put me on the spot. I'm going to say if they get top 6 and not top 4, who do you have beating them out? That is not, I don't know, Optic, Sentinels, or Cloud9.
Optic, Sentinels, C9, top 3.
And at that point, so what 2 teams do you have beating them out? I'm just saying, you have me on the hot seat. I'm going to return the favor.
G1 could potentially beat them, but you're right. Now I can see why you said 4. G1 could, and then G2 maybe, but G2, the issue with G2 is we don't know what's going on with them, right? They did get top 6 in the NA Super. Barcode is unfortunately in Australia. I'm sure he can help to an extent. They can watch VOD, whatever. But how do you get a real scrim in with Barcode if he's across the world, right? So that's got to be complex.
I did get a little bit of intel about that.
Oh, you got some intel? Did we drop the intel?
I did reach out to Gilkey because they were really quiet and people were starting to ask questions. You know, you're filling with Oxygen Esports, not only in Halo, but also in Apex as well. So I decided to ask Gilkey, and he said exactly what you said. Barcodes across the nation, so it's really hard for them to get valuable scrims. As of right now, they're focused on film reviewing and watching others scrim together and really getting their knowledge up. And then by the time they're able to get him back into the States, they're going to be doing 2-a-days when it comes to scrims. So they're going to be up to par. He has no fear that they're going to be up to par going into Orlando and beyond. Sorry.
No, and you know what? You're right. Even just looking and thinking about this, like, it has to be top 4 for FaZe, right? Like, Complexity, okay, they're looking good, but they're online. We have no backing to suggest that Complexity can go that high in a tournament, in a LAN tournament. So it would be unfair to consider that. The only other team is eUnited, but their performance does not suggest that they can hang in top 4 just yet, Tony. I think they're still figuring it out. So let's shift to eUnited, though, right? Because on one side of the coin, you got FaZe. They're looking good. They got some chemistry. Snipedown, where the heck did he go? He landed on eUnited. But he's not on the org exactly, right? Like, he's on loan, apparently. They got an announcement tweet for it as well.
Yeah, I think it's the worst kept secret.
Yeah, it was.
I want to point out that your boy right here was the one who broke the story of Faceless Peak being sniped down. I want to point out that I broke
Trippy
it. Faceless
broke it. Trippy definitely just killed any you right? Like he's calling out Snipedown.
He literally accidentally said Snipe, and I got it recorded and I put it out there. I'm sorry, I had to out them. I'm sorry, but yeah, I think Snipedown being on loan to eUnited, which by the way, it's the worst secret in the world that him and FaZe have a great relationship, and that when he eventually goes to Apex, he will be sporting that FaZe roster, most likely starting off with like Slurp and Albrelelli. It's literally the worst kept secret in Apex right now. We're going to focus on Halo. He's loaned down to eUnited, and I like it. I like the roster move. I think you go from a team that completely didn't represent your playstyle to a team that really does. eUnited are the definition of slow and steady winning the race. Like, you know, patience is not just a virtue for them, it's a weapon. It's a weapon they utilize so well because eUnited played the chess match like no other. When it comes to manning the troops, being that chess master, Ryan was one of the best. And Snipedown always performs great under a great IGL. And that's exactly what Ryan Noob is. I just think eUnited play the play style that Snipedown ultimately wants to. And is it going to be exciting to watch? Not all the time. Yeah. It's gonna be boring to watch, but will it be efficient and effective? And are Snipedown a legitimate threat to a lot of teams that I would, guarantee top 8, legitimately fighting for top 6 and top 4 as a stretch goal for them? I think that's exactly where I have eUnited right now.
I think their playstyle is the type of playstyle that makes a lesser prepared team crack in a LAN environment. But in scrims, you can get comfortable with how they play and start to adapt and like kind of over-aggress. And I think maybe this is just my assumption. I feel like in scrims, it's not going to be as powerful. But in LAN, in a best of 3 and a best of 5, the slow kind of pace of play and like the methodical way that they kind of try to expose your mistakes, right? Like that will be oppressive, I think, on LAN. I feel like a team like, let's say, Complexity, who's extremely fast online and extremely aggressive and they kind of get away with it, they might not in a LAN environment, and that could kind of trip up some of the faster teams. I don't know. That's my only kind of thought. Apart from, like you said, chemistry is looking better for Snipedown. This is probably the best place he could go. The meta has evolved as far as movement goes in Infinite to the point where everybody's just, they're curb slide and snap slide. You're looking at, what was it, previously KCP, they're going to be native red now. We'll talk about that. And Complexity, a lot of these teams are quick on the map. And if you're not moving quick, you're playing wrong, quote unquote. Ryan Noob has a completely different kind of perspective on this, right? They have a slower style of play, and I think it lends to Snipedown's very accurate play style, but he's not, the flashiest when it comes to movement.
No. I think it's a great point that you brought up, and like I said, I right there with that. The eUnited's play style fits Snipedown. Yeah. I also will say that in addition to what you said about them being on LAN and their play style working better on LAN, I also want to say that you gotta. There's no way you could prepare for Ryan Noob on LAN. When we talk about some of the best trash talkers in the world, it's so funny that we don't talk about Ryan Noob. Ryan Noob has a very interesting way of trash talking you. He will tell you what you did wrong. And what it does is it sits in the back of your head and it makes you second guess almost every move you make. Like he will
say it with such confidence.
For example,
right.
He'll catch Monster on bottom mid over a one shot trying to stay alive. He'll peek out. Monster, you should have ducked over towards your team, over towards the nest bridge. You stay alive that way. It was
Wait,
easily
is that
predictable.
what he's saying?
Monster, you have to get your act together. Your team needs you right now, and he'll say something like that.
Wow.
And
your team needs
something
you.
like that will sit in the back of your head like, damn, these two just called me out. So now the next time you're one shot top mid on live fire, you're not going to drop bottom mid. You're going to over challenge top mid or something. He's going to kill you. It's like, oh yeah, that was the play. Like he will continue. He will tell you what you did wrong and really get into your head. And I think it's probably like the best form of trash talk you can ever have. Like he's one of the most underrated trash talkers in the game.
That sounds like a twisted mind game, to be honest, right? Because like the way that
I copied it. I used to do the same thing. I straight up copied him.
Right, because it's not just like you're trash or you know what I mean, just your typical, like you're assaulting their confidence and their understanding of like the game, and also like you put a motivational swing on the end of it too. You're like, come on, you know, your team's depending on you. Like, wow, you know, like that would actually mess with my head. So wow, that's mental warfare, Tony. Thank you for that. And maybe if you're a sweaty competitor in the comments and you're watching, then maybe, flip your script a little bit on the trash talk. Think about
works.
Jeez. And that's the thing. In the end of the day, is I feel like eUnited are designed specifically to win the tournament, and the scrims, of course, that's all important. But I do feel like their specific play style is going to come out as a force to kind of prey on some of the weaker-minded, teams that fall apart when they play it slower, when they play more controlled. So we'll see. I think they could be a surprise hit, but at the same time, they could totally go out with a fizzle too, right? They could get overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. So we don't really know what to expect there, but the chemistry looks good and the roster looks good on paper. We don't have a lot of stats to go off of either, do we, Tony?
Not really too much. I saw today that I believe they might have. I'm sorry, excuse me. Yesterday I think they had like 10-1 or like 10-2 Shopify Rebellion. I've been watching a bit of scrims here and there versus some of the teams, and again, I'm not going to say they look great, but they definitely look better, and they definitely look like they're on the right track. eUnited are definitely figuring it out.
Okay. Hopefully they continue to, Tony, because we've got the EU Grunt Classic coming up in, just a week now, right? So that's going to put a spotlight on eUnited just even coming into the tournament. So can't wait to see how they're playing, and can't wait to cast over them, get those matches going as well. Let's continue with ROSTERMANIA, though, right? Because there's still a lot, I think, being solidified in Halo Esports. It's kind of crazy right now. You've got teams that are not 100% confirmed, but need to be confirmed because Orlando is like a couple weeks away. So everything's just kind of locking in now. That's why we got hit with like 3 or 4 tweets at the same time with roster announcements. We've got Fnatic, still haven't announced it. Forbidden Fruit do not have an org, but Tony, you have some ideas. And then we've got KCP, now Native Red. So let's, I guess we'll start with Fnatic, or what we know of them.
So Fnatic are going to be a little bit interesting. So Fnatic have announced they have a completed roster, but they haven't announced who that roster is. So I did some digging on my end and I saw who they've been scrimming with recently. And so the answer is, it is still the same core. So you have Certify and Jazero. Okay. And then with them, you have the duo from Exit. You have Suppressed and Arctic coming in. And so, you have Certify, high damage dealer, always able to get his kills. Jazero, a big swing player. Suppressed, high damage dealer as well. Very steady, centered shot. Almost reminds me similar to a formal-like player. Okay. And then you have Arctic, who I think is another swing player, but not really all that fancy, but still gets the job done. Mm-hmm. Am I in love with this Fnatic roster? Maybe not, but at the end of the day, I think this is a good roster. I think it'd be able to get some good wins, and they've consistently gotten top 12 on LAN, and I think there's a possibility they can replicate that. Just know there's going to be a lot of teams gunning for. We talked about the G1s, the complexities, Ascends, Quadrants, SSGs and whatnot. This is going to be the hardest tournament to get top 16, top 12, and top 8. It will not be a cakewalk.
It definitely won't. I feel like Fnatic are in one of the toughest spots for sure. Roster looks solid, like you said. That's not confirmed, but Septify, Jazero, Suppressed, Arctic, still waiting on that. Suppressed, of course, looked good on SSG, right? He picked up some spotlight there. We were confused as to kind of where he would go, so good to see him, potentially with a roster. But yeah, Tony, nothing about this roster pops out as a team that's going to blow anyone out of the water, surprise us in any crazy way. The potential is there for these players, but there's not a lot of star power. There's not a lot of like a Spartan or somebody who's got a lot of LAN experience who we know we can kind of rely on to put. Not that that's what's necessary. It's just it just feels like a big question mark with these guys, I think, at the moment.
I will say, don't sleep on Septify and Suppressed. We saw what Suppressed can do when combined with Suspector on exit, and it was dangerous. I mean, and by the way, Suspector is another underrated player that people sleep on about being a Slayer. He's phenomenal. And I think
finding
Septify...
his path now, though, finally, which is good, right?
Yeah. And I think Septify is one of the large reasons why Fnatic were able to get their placing that they were, despite not looking the best. Like, Septify is a stud, and if you look at the stats, they will impress you. Like, a lot of people are sleeping on Septify, so I will say don't sleep on this new duo of Septify and Suppressed. But I also say, do I see them getting top 6? I'm sorry, I don't. Maybe at one point during the beginning of the season and whatnot, because I had compared Fnatic to a team like KCP, dark horse team, coming from that Halo 5, play a very fast game style, and it's exciting to watch, and I think it can throw people off. As of right now, man, everybody's gotten so much better, man. Yeah. The competition is going to be tough in Orlando, and it's one thing that people aren't talking about is how the competition continues to get better and better, not just on the top level, but everybody's starting to catch up.
Everybody's, gotten insanely good. So it's, like you said, it's a tough spot. You can't sleep on anybody, and you're totally right. I mean, Septify, insanely talented. We casted plenty of his twos towards the end of Halo 5 as well, and that was where I think he, for me at least, really kind of popped into the radar as holy crap, he can hang with the best players in the world. The skill is there, but there's just no time at this point, right? It's this is just kind of chaos. Get your damn team together, lock it in, get as many scrims as you can. You got a tournament to play. Good luck. Everybody's so good now, right? Everybody's so prime, at least the ones who have stuck together. When you look at Optic, you're looking at, Sentinels, etc. So tough time. Hopefully they find some surprises, but we'll just have to wait and see. I think, Tony, you got Forbidden Fruit as well, which is another team kind of stuck in the middle of ROSTERMANIA. No org for this team. And is any of this confirmed as far as their roster?
No org, but...
Well, okay. Has anything been announced yet, Tony, or no?
No, but again,
what do you got?
I do my digging. Okay. And so you notice that... So
what's the team?
We'll talk about the team. I'm sorry. So we'll talk about the team. So it's Envoy, Hysteria, and Tony Tutor that have been playing together for quite some time, and that's been the trio. Tony Tutor and Envoy, an amazing duo, and Hysteria as special. That veteranship, and it's been nice. Then you bring in now Rami, who's been scrimming with them a ton. It was Arctic on the team originally. Apparently, Arctic going over to Fanatics, or so it seems. And now Rami has been scrimming with Forbidden Fruit, where, by the way, they were able to 7-0 Oxygen Esports. They went undefeated against a very good and very capable Oxygen Esports, which I would say is probably the best Oxygen squad they've put on paper so far. And as far as I did see Envoy tweet out the little contract signature.
Right.
I also noticed Strictly Business coming in and saying, giving the eyeballs to HCS and HCS liking them. My thought process is Strictly Business have signed Forbidden Fruit going into Orlando and Worlds, which is funny because Envoy, before signing with Fnatic, they used to go by the team Business, and now they're going to be signed by Strictly Business. That's my thought process right now. I know you guys probably look at my chalkboard behind me, all the olive branches, this man's absolutely crazy. The tinfoil hat is on, but I'm telling you, I'm doing my research. I promise.
Well, so two things you can confirm separately, though, right? You can confirm that these guys need an org, and they found someone. And we can also confirm that Strictly Business has recently shown interest in HCS. They've entered Halo. I mean, here you go. Hello, HCS eyeballs. That tells you everything you need to know there's a new org looking for a team in Halo. So you put 2 and 2 together, it seems like a pretty likely possibility. But we do still have floating players, though, at the same time, right? So while that does seem to be the likely kind of placement, what about somebody like Ace and Tylenol and Collect and Mortally, right? Like there's a lot of talent, I think, kind of floating. Tony, can we maybe try to tie up some loose ends? And then I do think we're going to have some time for Q&A. By the way, viewers in the chat, if you guys have any questions, maybe start asking them now. We'll grab them. We'll put them in the Discord. We'll start answering questions. But let's try to just, who's floating, right? Because there's some good talent out here that and we forgot about Native as well. Damn it. Maybe start there.
Okay, well, as far as Native, so
okay,
Native
start there.
have officially signed the old KCP roster. When I say old KCP roster, I don't mean with King Nick. I mean the old KCP roster with Manny coming back home, which is absolutely huge for Native. They're going to be going as Native Red, and I'm excited. You know, obviously this team was starting to dip a little bit, so that's why, you know, KCP decided to try to make a trade. You know, it's trading out Manny for King Nick. That experiment didn't work as well as they wanted to. They figured, hey, you know what? We know what the formula is. We know what we have to do, and maybe bringing back Manny might get that newfound energy and momentum. Maybe you redo the honeymoon phase that you're on, even though this is the old roster that we've seen. I always like them together. I think the stats don't show how dangerous this team could be, especially in an objective series or objective heavy series. Like, this is a team that can get outslayed and still win a best of 5 series in 4. Like they're that good as far as the objective efficiency, and I know they could put it together. Really excited to see the old KCP roster now going as Native Red with Coach JamIam and now with analyst Tiberius Oddly.
Okay, all right, and then we've known Tiberius, of course, through the community. I think he was previously the Team Liquid coach back in Halo 5, so a lot of knowledge he might bring to this team too. But it's good to see them come back together, because just looking back, they were like a regular in the top 6, you know, pushing into top 4. They were that team that had the ability to just kind of upset any of the top, you know, kind of horsemen, I want to say, of competitive Halo at any time. If they were playing well, they could manage it. They were always, they were kind of stagnating, which I think was the issue, and that maybe led to a slight switch in the roster, but the potential was still there. So it seems like they're kind of just back at it, back in form. It's got to be rough being a pro player, though, right, Tony? Like, you look at how look at Manny's, like, he was on KCP, and then he signed to eUnited for what, like a month? Like, how, you know what I mean? Like, it's so in flux, right? Like, right? They played it, the NA Super. They played the NA Super. I think that was it. And you go through the whole process of, like, donning the jersey, having the announcement, and being like, I'm so excited to be on this, right? And then a month later, you're on a different, now I'm on Native, you know. Anyway, that's just the life of a pro player.
I mean, it's real, and, you know, we laugh about it a little bit, but, you know, at the end of the day, like, you know, you don't have job security in this industry, you know, and Pistola found that out. Second place, you know, during a major event, and then you lose your spot right afterwards. Like, you know, like, and that's at the top levels. You can imagine what, you know, top 6 and below. It's tough. It really is. You know, there was a very talented Red Wolf squad who reverse swept Oxygen Esports, made it to championship bracket. Yeah, they had a phenomenal tournament. They ended up having to break up because they couldn't get a sponsor, they couldn't get a salary, and it's tough because you can't commit full-time hours unless you're being paid to commit full-time hours. The same thing we saw happen to that EMGG roster. They couldn't get an org together, so they had to separate and try to find different paths to make it in this industry, and it's tough. This industry demands full-time commitment, and, you know, that needs a full-time, you know, backing, and it's tough. It really is. So hopefully we get to a point where it explodes and everybody in top 32 is guaranteed salary because Halo Esports is thriving that much. Yeah, but honestly, I'm sure it can be scary, and I actually want to bring on a guest one day and want to talk about that, the mental side of things and what that looks like. But that's for another day. I'm sorry.
No, but that's a really good topic, and I'm glad that you even brought this up and brought up the, you know, that empathetic take on it, because you're so right. It's got to be brutal, and because of that, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, right? Like I think Optic is the perfect example of like I mean, obviously they have their own struggles and whatnot. Like it'd be very tough to compete at that level, but their mental seems so great on top of their performance, and they're locked in, right? They're grinding, they're aligned in their perspectives, they know what they want. Like it just seems like the W's in sight, and that's kind of like the pinnacle, the ultimate objective for a team is to be so aligned like that. Everyone else, it's like you're in constant flux on top of the fact that maybe you don't like the game, you got all these different ideas of what should be or how things should be, and it's pulling away from your mental, and it's affecting your energy and affecting your chemistry, and it's got to be brutal, Tony. So you're right, it makes you think like the rich get richer, the ones at the top who can afford to continue to grind, they get to continue to do so. Everybody else needs to pull themselves through the trenches and mind over matter this shit. You know what I mean? Make it happen. But like you said, I believe at some point things can come together. Hopefully they will. Esports can hopefully grow and start to prosper, and more opportunity will come. Tony, in the meantime, we've got floaters, right? We've got players still figuring out, we don't know where they're going to land. Any kind of like thoughts or takes, and then I'll take a look real quick. We got about 10 minutes to go here.
So, I will say, so no longer floating now is, Ace, Super CC, Huss, and Mortally, who've been caught scrimming together multiple times. So I'm going to have to assume that they're scrimming for a reason.
Okay.
And I'm going to have to assume that, maybe they're going in as a team together, but we honestly don't know. I know Ace and Tylenol at one point tweeted they were a team of two, but I also know they're willing to explore their options, and as separate or together. I haven't heard anything from Collect and Tylenol, at least on their main account. And trust me, guys, I have been looking, I've been asking around, and I haven't been able to figure out any information but with how talented they are, I can only assume that either they're going to find a home separate, or maybe Tylenol Collect come back together and for some kind of team. I honestly don't know. It's really tough to try to keep up with this stuff, but as right now, we don't know about Collect. We don't know about Tylenol. We believe Ace and Mortally are a team with the likes of Super CC and Huss, formerly of Torrent, but it really is tough. I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah. It's got to be. But like you said, so we might have that roster with Ace. Of course, they would need an org likely coming into things. So we might get some very soon announcements, I'm assuming, especially with Fnatic as well, locking things in. So over the next couple of weeks, it's going to get crazier. We even mentioned it like 2 weeks ago, right? Like just how many rosters still needed to be locked in. And finally today, we just got hit with like 4 announcements all at the same time. Hopefully we find some answers for the other players. Tony, like you said with Collect, I think, for some of these guys, like Collect specifically, he's 18 years old. He's incredibly talented. I think the biggest thing is
19.
Right. So hopefully, you're not beating yourself up too much, and the patience is there, and you stay in the loop, you stay in communication and network and keep grinding, because some of the younger guys, they do have the benefit, I think, of time to iron it out and to really, pop. I think Collect's in a good spot for that. Whether or not he gets a team, I'd be surprised if he doesn't have at least something going into Orlando, though. Other than that, though, Tony, I think that pretty much wraps up everything we got for today's show as far as HCS updates. State of the game, not the greatest right now. There is some hope on the horizon. Hopefully we get there. In the meantime, Tony, we just roll with the esports tournaments. At least we got those, right? Orlando in less than a month. We've got Worlds a month after that, right? So it's going to be very busy in the world of esports. We've got a couple questions before we wrap here. Tony, it says, Kilo Say So, I believe, says, is Ola retired for good or just for this season? Any thoughts, Tony? Hope he comes back. I do too.
With that tweet that he put out there, and you saw the responses from people who, not only competitors, but also people that are close to him, treat it like he was retiring. I'm going to say that as of right now, I think Pistola retires. Is there a chance he comes back? Maybe, if the right opportunity presents itself, or, whether it be as a player, coach, analyst, caster, I'm a content creator, because I think there is always going to be a place for Ola when it comes to Halo. He's a great player. He's excited to watch. He's funny as hell and has a great vibe about him. So there's always going to be a place for Ola, whether that means as a pro player or in a different direction.
Right. Well said. I think that's the biggest thing is there's no way. I don't think we don't see him come back and get involved with Halo in some way. I definitely believe the skills are still there. The biggest thing is like we just have no understanding of how much he's playing. Like, is he still grinding? Is he putting time in? Because if he is, I think he will be able to bounce back, in this. If he's just stopped, then I don't know, hard to say. But the biggest thing is he's very loved, right, Tony, by the entire freaking community. There's no way he doesn't find, like, let him take his time. You know what I mean? We're going to welcome him back with open arms, regardless of what it is. Hopefully he comes back in some capacity. We've got so King Ramy says, which team kept the same roster for the longest period? That's an easy question. Who has stayed together the longest in Halo Esports, Tony? At this point, it's a record in the history of Halo Esports.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you have Sentinels. I guess, I don't know if can we call it stay together if they separate and come back together? I think you have an argument now for Native Red because Native Red are up there, they left and now they're back together. But I mean, obviously, I would say Sentinels. Optics changed out formal, so I can't really go there. Cloud9 changed out for Renegade, so I would say the Sentinels easy. And then KCP in a somewhat second place because I feel like they didn't want to. I didn't feel like they didn't want to separate. I think it was a kind of like an org decision kind of thing. I think they wanted to stay together, and then they ultimately got Manny back.
True. Right. I mean, and those guys just seem like brothers, right? Like we watched KCP on their original come up, back in Halo 5 years ago, and I want to say that team formed 2-3 years ago now, maybe that long. But the Sentinels one, without question, longest standing Halo Esports team from Counterlogic Gaming back in late 2015 or early 2016 to now, which is longer than Final Boss, longer than any Halo roster, I think, in the history of the entire franchise. So, shout out to Sentinels.
Although there was almost a team change. There was almost a change.
Lethal there was talks, right? Like the Lethal Renegade. That would have been crazy, honestly, if Renegade went to Sentinels, and who knows where Lethal would have gone. Like maybe that would have kept Ola in the loop. Like, I don't know, crazy ideas you can pick up from that, but it didn't happen. Sentinels stayed together, and I wonder what that means for LAN, right? Because I think things look more volatile than they've ever looked in Halo Esports. I think stuff is up in the air. Optic are in a good spot, but apart from that, anything can happen. Somebody could pop off and totally take it, and that's why it's so exciting. So that's it for the YNOT Shyway show. We'll be back as usual next Friday. Everyone enjoy the rest of ESA.